Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here in the Home Weather Office with another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion for Monday, May 27th, 2024, on this fantastic Memorial Day. So, taking a look at the latest GOES 16 True Color visible satellite imagery provided by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. And as we can see here, much of the tropics are pretty quiet because we have some of that Saharan air layer, dry, stable air, lots of sinking in the atmosphere. But to the south, though, we do have a active intertropical convergence zone. You can see it kind of all draped down here in the deep tropics, and occasionally where we have some of these little waves, some of this little Boeing type portion of the wave. We usually get tropical waves that typically develop off of that, and I'll show you that here in just a little bit. Otherwise, though, we do have some enhanced showers and thunderstorm convection going on across central, southern, and northern Caribbean, including for portions here of, say, the Dominican Republic, including Puerto Rico, including for southeastern Cuba and Venezuela, but otherwise, no concerns of any tropical storms, hurricanes, or major hurricanes to speak of for the time being, since our background state here is still unfavorable with a lot of wind shear that is cutting across much of the Atlantic. Now, another cool product that I'm going to introduce in these videos is the current analysis from the National Hurricane Center on what they're seeing here. And so what they are finding is that we do have that intertropical convergence zone that is draped across Africa, coming across the deep tropics of the Atlantic here. And within this rope of converging winds, we do have these tropical waves that do develop here. And there are two. One coming off of Africa right now, and there is one roughly located about 40 to 35 degrees west in longitude. And each of these waves have enhanced convection, strong winds, and some heavy rainfall associated with that. We also have another tropical wave, like I said, that is over the central Caribbean right now, and this is going to remain parked for a while, and this is going to keep the heavy rain, gusty winds at times, enhance, and rain. Flooding is an impact. You don't need a tropical depression or a tropical storm, let alone to cause big impacts. All you need is one of these systems to come on by, known as a tropical wave, which is an inverted trough. So in other words, we're seeing waves that look like this. We have an inverted wave here, we have an inverted wave here, and each of those is an area of low pressure that generates thunderstorms, heavy rain, and gusty winds. So with that being said, there's going to be some inclement weather for a while over the ABC Islands, Venezuela, as well as portions there of the Dominican, Hispaniola, and even for portions of southeastern Cuba over the next 5 to 10 days, because the pattern that we're in really helps to get these tropical waves going, not enough to become organized into tropical depressions. And of course, to the north of that, we have this big sprawling ridge of high pressure. That's what we call the Bermuda or Azores High, with a weak Bermuda ridge that is located over this western Atlantic. And as long as that remains weak, our sea surface temperatures here do fly up quickly. Therefore, the National Hurricane Center does not indicate that there will be any tropical formation in the next 7 days, other than tropical waves that do bring periodic showers and thunderstorms to some locations here over the central and eastern Caribbean. Again, might impact your day once in a while with some heavy rain and gusty winds. But again, the Atlantic is looking quiet for the time being. Now, looking at the GFS model, this is a global forecasting system, the American model, and today we're really going to be focusing on this tropical wave down here in the deep tropics, because again, there is going to be more rain coming for your location in the next 5 to 10 days, such as the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, some of the U.S. British Virgin Islands, including for Jamaica, and also for southeastern Cuba. Definitely want to be on the lookout for more flooding and heavy rain potential and some gusty winds. So going forward here on the GFS model, the American model, we can see that there is going to be more rain coming on again, off again, showers and thunderstorms each afternoon as we get diurnal heating over land. We get some of those thunderstorms that get going. But I want you to pay attention to this. This is where we have that tropical wave. Again, strong trade winds doing this, and then we kind of have winds kind of doing this. So we do have a little bit of a wave envelope down here in the Caribbean that is going to help to enhance thunderstorm development over the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and Jamaica over the next at least 5 to 7 days. So over the next week, you're going to be dealing with a lot of rainfall, flooding, and potentially some landslides. And that's all it takes. You don't need a hurricane or a tropical storm to do any damage. All you need is a lot of rain over a length of time that leads to a lot of the flood problems that you otherwise won't see if there wasn't any rain, correct? And so all the way through next weekend, this is through the first couple of days of June, you'll be looking at a lot of rainfall and thunderstorm development around that area. And then things should get a little bit more quieter once we go out to 10 days. And that's a look at the GFS model. So again, through the rest of this week, especially like on Tuesday and Wednesday through Saturday or even Sunday, there's going to be enhanced thunderstorm development and some heavy rainfall. How much rain can you expect out of a lot of this activity? We're not just going to focus on one day. We're going to focus over the next 7 to 10 days. And some of these areas down here, wow, could get a lot of rain, anywhere between 5 to 8 inches of rainfall over the next 10 days. Some of the highest elevations like the Haitian Peninsula, as well as some of the higher terrain over the Dominican Republic, you might see over a foot of rainfall over the next 10 days. And again, that doesn't seem like a whole lot, but we don't want to ignore a lot of you all down here in the deep tropics, where this time of the year you get these robust tropical waves. They can bring a lot of impacts. Again, you don't need a named storm to bring impacts, let alone. That comes later. That will be more like in June, July, and August and September, when we will have to worry about that when we cross that bridge. But otherwise, lots of rain is expected over these areas, and I just hope you all are prepared for what's to come with more rain and flooding coming. Now, really quickly, I did want to show you all the upper ocean heat content, and I want to talk a little bit about this. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I want to clear up any confusion on what this actually means. So first of all, what upper ocean heat content is, it's the amount of heat content stored in the ocean. It's a lot of heat, right? So let's just say your 80-degree Fahrenheit isotherm extends very deep into the ocean. Your upper ocean heat content is going to be much higher than if that 80-degree isotherm was much shallower, like say 5 or 10 feet below the surface. So in this case, there is a lot of heat being stored in the ocean right now, especially in the Caribbean and in the western main development region of the Atlantic. We're seeing a lot of upper ocean heat content, and this does not produce hurricanes, okay? This is not like, oh, just because we have these high numbers means we're going to have a major hurricane. It doesn't have to go that way. This could be untapped for years on end without any issue, right? But if we do get a background favorable environment, let's just say the wind shear decreases right to near 5 or 10 knots, right? Or 0. And we have a lot of moisture around that tropical wave that is able to develop, right, in a very pristine environment. This upper ocean heat content is octane fuel. It's juice. It's gasoline for hurricanes to be able to thrive in. So if we had like a tropical storm that went over this region with very little shear, lots of moisture, then the upper ocean heat content could provide a lot of ample energy for tropical storms to intensify rapidly at an explosive rate into major hurricanes or violent hurricanes, in other words. So that's what this map actually illustrates. And right here, we have a lot of upper ocean heat content around the Jamaica, around the Cayman Islands, the Island of Youth, seeing very high upper ocean heat content. This is well above climatological records. Indeed, a lot of these red colors, some of these magenta colors really illustrate historic records, something that we've not seen at all for the time of the year that we're in. And we're in May 27th, and the upper ocean heat content like this is not usually found until mid or late August. So we're definitely at least 2 or almost 3 months ahead of schedule as far as the upper ocean heat content anomalies go. It's very concerning on how this season might end up being. It's also worth noting that sea surface temperature anomalies are off the hook right now, very far above average up here in the central Atlantic. The main development region is still quite warm, right around 1 degree or 2 above average. We have sea surface temperatures that are 1 to 2 degrees above normal. across the Gulf of Mexico, including for Florida, including the Bahamas. This is in Celsius, by the way. So in Fahrenheit, it's going to obviously be a little higher, probably like about 4 to 6 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. So definitely something that you don't want to hear about with a very busy, hyperactive season that is all forecasted by all agencies because of the sea surface temperature configuration that we're in. Cool water up here to the north, lots of warming down here in the deep tropics. It's going to focus a lot of that upward motion during MJO events and convective coupled Kelvin waves, allowing tropical waves to really develop pretty quickly. Okay, so to the rest of the video, we're going to be talking about hurricane preparedness. I briefly discussed this in yesterday's video, but we're going to dedicate a little bit more time into this, hopefully keeping this video under 20 minutes is the goal today. So prepare before hurricane season. We are literally just a few days away from the official beginning of the Atlantic hurricane season. So develop an evacuation plan. Assemble disaster supplies, food, water, batteries, charger, radio, and cash. So make sure you have your batteries for your radios, and make sure you're able to charge your phone and get, prepared if a hurricane does impact you. Get an insurance checkup and document your possessions. So make sure you go to your insurance company and you get it all checked, get all documents gathered and everything, just in case, again, you don't have insurance. Create a communication plan with a handwritten list of contacts. Strengthen your home. So make sure you board up your home, make sure it's strong enough and it's hurricane proof in some sense, where it takes a lot more damage to destroy your home than if it weren't hurricane proof, right? Also, know your risk. Water and wind. You could hide from the wind, but you cannot run from the water unless you evacuate. So please, cannot stress enough. Know your risk. Where you live, your address, okay? Consider your threats. Storm surge, flooding from heavy rain, strong winds, tornadoes, rip currents. Determine if you live in a flood-prone area. Find out if you live in an evacuation zone. So make sure you check with your landlord. Hey, am I in evacuation zone? Do I need to evacuate this year if the hurricane comes through? Of course, if there's a Category 5, you may want to consider doing something, right? Versus if it's Category 1 and it moves inland, right? If you're along the coast, yeah, you better evacuate if you are not aware of that, okay? Identify your home's structural risks. Mobile homes and basements can be especially vulnerable. So basements could easily flood. So if water comes into your house, water could seep into the basement, fill it up, and it could end up being like a pool, right? An 8-foot pool of water that could be toxic because you maybe have your water heater down there. You have electrical lines that run underneath the house or something. That can lead to a lot of problems. So make sure you identify your structural risks, okay? We have a basement here where I live, but that's not because we get tornadoes or hurricanes. Back in the day, in the 1930s, a lot of houses back then had basements, and that's why we have one. Okay, so now, understand forecast information, okay? This is very important, and I try to emphasize this in my discussions when we are dealing with a tropical storm or hurricane making landfall. Rely on forecasts, okay? Big highlight right here. I'm going to use my highlighter pen, okay? Little life lesson learned here, right? And we need yellow. Here we go. So rely on forecasts from the National Hurricane Center and your local National Weather Service office. It is very important that you do that. They are the #1 trusted source out there. I can't even be 100% accurate, okay? There's only one agency, and that's the National Weather Service. Know your alerts and the difference between a watch and a warning, okay? A watch means you better be on the lookout because maybe it will become a warning. A warning means you got to get out of harm's way, okay? Don't wait, okay? So if you're under a hurricane warning, you need to evacuate, okay? Focus on potential impacts, regardless of storm size or category. So treat a tropical storm like it's a category 5, or treat a category 5 like it's a category 5. Don't assume that, oh, it's a tropical storm, there's not going to be a lot of impacts. There have been tropical storms that have been very destructive that rivaled category 4 or 5 damage. It all depends on where it's happening and how fast it's moving in, right? Let's just put this into perspective. Let's just pretend we have a tropical storm that's stalled out off the coast of Louisiana and it moves at 1 mile an hour towards the coast of Louisiana. What is that going to bring? That's going to bring prolonged impacts versus if it's a category 5 hurricane moving towards Louisiana at 25 miles an hour, then the impacts will be very intense but won't last quite as long as if it's a category 5 stalled out along the Louisiana coast, if that makes sense. Know that deadly hazards occur well outside of the forecast cone. So again, the cone of uncertainty is the cone of uncertainty, hence its name. It does not mean that, oh, the wind field is really small here, so if I'm outside of the cone, I won't evacuate. It's a very dumb idea. You need to evacuate if you're under a watch or a warning, because if it's a watch, it could end up being a warning. Follow the NHC's advice and your local officials. That's all I can do for you all. I can't force you guys to evacuate when I say, hey, you guys need to evacuate right now, right? You need to just follow your local officials. Evacuate early than later means you get out of traffic a little quicker than later, correct? So get moving when a storm threatens you. Protect your home, cover windows, secure doors, and loose items. Determine sheltering options and consider your pets. Ready your go bag, meds and supplies, charge your phone, fill up charge your vehicle. So make sure your car has enough gas. If it's an electric vehicle, make sure it has enough charge in it, okay? And make sure you have your medication. You don't want to forget your medication. Those are important. And you need to make sure you have a get ready go bag in case you have to evacuate last minute. Help your neighbors, especially the elderly and other vulnerable people. People like seniors. Educate them. Tell them that, hey, grandma, we have to evacuate right now. We have a hurricane coming. All right. They are most vulnerable because as you get older, your body starts breaking down. You can't move as quickly. So you have to make sure you let them know very far in advance, within 5 days at least, that, hey, grandma, we have a hurricane coming. All right. Follow evacuation orders if given, please. All right, sorry, this is going to be a little bit of more than 20 minutes, but I'm going to try to go through this as fast as I can. This is very important, folks. Hurricane preparedness. Stay protected during storms. Stay in a safe place from water and wind. Evacuate, move to higher ground if you're in a storm surge area. If it's strong damaging winds along the coast especially, you also want to get inland because when you get in the middle of a landmass, the winds are typically not as strong because of friction, but still you can get some hurricane force wind gusts. But remember, please stay in a safe spot because a hurricane is a tornado on a much larger scale, okay? On a synoptic scale. Have a way to get weather alerts and forecast updates. Again, from the National Hurricane Center and from the National Weather Service. Again, I can do my best, but I am not an official NHC person. You'll have to refer to them for more information. I'm only here to educate you and to relay that information of what they're giving out, right? Us as YouTubers. Keep in mind that impacts can be felt far from the coast. So even so it's a category 5 hitting, say, Louisiana or southern Florida, does not mean that, oh, I'm 100 miles away from category 5 Hurricane Irma. Still get ready for some high winds, okay? Impacts like storm surge, high surf can be rippled well away from the hurricane. For an example, Hurricane Teddy, Hurricane, Franklin, that storm surge, and not really storm surge, but high surf went all the way from that to the eastern seaboard, right? Listen to local officials and avoid travel unless ordered to evacuate, okay? So try to keep freeways traffic free unless you have to evacuate, because imagining if there's traffic to begin with and you add more traffic from people that are evacuating, you're going to have a lot of bottleneck traffic issues, and you don't want that. Use caution after storms. If you have evacuated, only return home when it is safe to do so. So don't return home just because, oh, the hurricane's done, let's get back home. Because look at that image. There's some blue skies in the background. Maybe a lot of cloud cover based on the reflection of the water. You get the idea. That's still flooded, even so there's no more wind, there's no more rain. That street is flooded. And when there's flooded streets, if you have down power lines, they could be live. They could interact with the water. You can get electrocuted very quickly. Water is a huge conductor to electricity, okay? And you can get shocked. That's why don't be in the water if lightning or if there's thunder nearby, right? Because if lightning strikes the ocean, you can get shocked very easily, electrocuted. Clean up safely. Don't push yourself and check on neighbors, okay? Make sure you clean up safely if you do end up staying at home. Only use generators outdoors, 20 feet from your home, because again, generators do burn gas and they give out, carbon emissions, and you don't want to breathe in that carbon monoxide because that is deadly because you don't smell it, right? Prepare for the likelihood that help and communications may not be available. So cell towers could be down because of hurricanes for many reasons. Take action today. Determine your risk from water and wind. Begin preparing now before a storm. Learn on how to understand hurricane forecasts and alerts. Learn on what to do before, during, and after a storm. So make sure, again, take action today. This is the time, folks. Use the quiet period to your advantage. Nature's giving you a lot of warning before the season really gets ugly. And I think we're going to have a season that we will all remember in years ahead. All right. So before I do in the video, I hope you guys enjoyed this video a lot. If you did, please consider subscribing, sharing, and liking. And I'll be back with you more tomorrow with another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion. Tomorrow, we're not going to be focusing on hurricane preparedness, but I really wanted to get that out there to you all. So please share this with your family and friends and tell them, fast forward to the middle or the end of the video where I do that preparation thing. That's my job, so you all understand that getting prepared now is far more important. But thank you for watching. Be back tomorrow.